Okay, hello everyone. Hello everyone. We're just going to talk about tariffs. Wait, before you go, tariffs, and take your opinions out of it. Tariffs have a let's just call it history, with the economy and everything else. Let's go on the history of a tariff through a graph. We're gonna put this picture right behind us. Okay, you see at the point of the 1989, that tariffs right behind us are around 30% as the tariff rate. This is the era of what I remember is the Gilded Age, the age of billionaires and oligarchs ruling the country. Who knows if we might have. But anyway, there's a large drop in tariff rates, seemingly at this point to 1900, where there's a huge jump, returning back to previous levels. Who knows exactly which way? I might put it in here or in the comments if I look up and find out. Hmm? Okay, and there's a surprising decline in tariffs to 1900 to around 1920s, the golden age of America. Wow, isn't that great? Okay, so around the 20s though. So looks like a little bit in the middle of the 20s. Tariff rates strike right up. And this is the point where I think is the era of the smooth Holly tariff act, where tariffs reached the highest point since the Gilded Age. Which the thing is that it caused a deepening in the Great Depression. I'm not talking about like I'm an expert in everything, but there's several factors in the Great Depression. First, it was the market collapse. It caused businesses to lose all of their value. But that's not the most important part. The months later, the banks failed, which effectively made all of their money either gone or useless. That's the thing that really hurt them. They had no savings after their jobs fired them, as they should have. Then, after that, the Smooth Holly Tariff Act was enacted, causing an even deeper hole into the Great Depression, as the United States tried to recover their losses with tariffs and essentially spread the Great Depression while also causing the economy to become poor. As the Great Depression hits and a trade war hits too, as tariffs cause trade wars. Okay, after the Great Depression, though, after this large peak, it goes into a continuous decline from 20% all the way to the lowest, which will be in the 50s, before it starts slowly increasing over the 60s and 70s. Again, if I do some research, I will might put up a little of extra storage, or maybe even put text. Hmm. But anyway, now there's a huge drop of tariffs once reaching the 70s, which then goes into the 80s, drop even further, the 90s drop even further, 2000s drop even further, all the way to the 2010s, which is the lowest tariff rate in this entire graph. And see if I'll put text up in the screen right now if it was the height. if it's the lowest in history of the United States. But then, small hidden tariffs by the Orange Man, our glorious king dictator thingy called Donald. And then goes into the Biden era, where there's a slight decline in tariffs, but not complete decline. But then it hits a tariff rate of 22% from the old famous Liberation Day, the fastest dramatic increase in tariffs in American history. And the largest amount of tariffs, even at the point of the Smooth Holiday Tariff Act. More tariffs since 1910. 1910. Only before that. And that was in the era of the Gilded Age and the slow leaving of the Gilded Age. The age of oligarchs and billionaires. Okay, in the position of tariffs. This is the graph that shows the history of tariff all the way into the 1890s and all the way into the 2010s. You see how the tariff rate goes, right? Okay, a little bit a new disclaimer through a new side of this glorious tariff scene. Wink, wink. Here's the picture of tariffs since 1918 all the way to all the way to before the April 2nd incident. Huh? Huh? So, tariff rates were around 40% at the start, increasing all the way up to 60%, almost 60. Then there was a huge drop before reaching all the way up to 30%. But by the time of the Civil War, it goes up and down a bit until the point where the Civil War happens, where it's dropped significantly, all the way down to around in the teens. But now it's reached all the way up back to the 40%, and the Civil War rages on. Then there's a drop. Then it stays pretty stable around the 30, around near 30, to a little bit over 30. Then drops around 1890. And then the current tariff history follows. Just wanted to show. Data. My favorite bit of tariff. Huh? Huh? But now, I'm telling you